Welcome back to the Turn on the Music podcast. This is episode 14. My name is Kyle. We've got CJ here. How are you, sir?
Good, good. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay.
I like how you introduced yourself this time.
I remember to do a
Mhm.
thing.
I know.
Yay.
I did a thing.
Speaking of, have you watched the new Top Gear? Not Top Gear.
Um,
Grand Tour.
Grand Tour? Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. It
Last
was,
one was better. Wasn't as
huh?
good. I think the one before it was better.
What was that? The
The
Scandi flip?
Scandy Flick.
Where James May got into a car
Where he almost
accident.
died.
There almost died. I have to say though, there were some really funny elements in the
Yes.
Euro Crash one.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it was one of those ones where they were kind of like, guys, we got to put one out, so let's just do something weird.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be watched. It'll be good.
Yep.
There
Yep.
were some good funny moments in there though.
There were. Yeah.
I
There
my
usually are.
not to like give anything away, but they've been using it as a promotional thing. My one of my favorite things is when he tries to get Jeremy tries to get in one of those like F1 mock up F1 cars in Russia, and
Yep.
he's like, "What do you want me to do?" And Richard Hammond's like, "Don't be
Be less
fat."
fat.
So and I'm sitting here going, I'm like, that would be me. Like I'd be sitting in there, and someone would say the
Yep.
same thing to me. Just
Mm-hmm.
don't be
Yep.
fat.
Oh man. So your week's going okay?
Yeah, this is just, we're recording during a week that's crazy busy at work.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's just, you know, it's like the end of the month stuff, end of the year stuff, all that jazz. And it's just a matter of getting it done and doing my work, and then my work has to go to somebody else, and that person has a lot on their plate. And it's just a mess of stuff that's just a matter of
Yeah.
getting done. So it's hectic for everybody. So
Yeah.
it's not just me. Like I'm not gonna sit here and complain. It's
Mm-hmm.
across the board. It's just
Yeah.
everybody dealing with a lot. So
All right.
how about yourself?
It's been weird. I mean, work's been both crazy and not crazy at the same time. And then I don't know what's going on with me. I'm feeling weird and different, and I don't, I don't know. I've been walking recently just to try and get less fat. Um,
You want to fit in
and
that Formula One car, don't
I
you?
do. I do. um, but yeah, so I've been doing that. I haven't the last couple of days because of the air outside. I was a little nervous to do that.
Yeah.
Um, while it wasn't as bad as what you had, it's I mean very obvious that there's something going on.
Does it smell like a campfire in the air?
I don't smell anything, but I do notice that I'm coughing more when I'm
Oh yeah,
outside.
absolutely.
So
It
I
like
don't really.
dries you out. That's what
Yeah,
happens. Yeah, it
yeah,
dries you out.
and
Yeah.
I just I don't smell well anyway, so my nose does not work very well. Like, so I
Oh,
don't
that's
know if it
true. So you may not,
does smell. So.
because it's not a prominent smell, but
Mm-hmm.
if you take a deep breath,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm forgetting that you don't smell that well, like if you
Yeah.
take a deep breath, you're kind of like, oh, campfire,
Right.
let's make s'mores. Like that's what
Yeah.
it feels like it's going to your system.
Yeah. So I've been walking. I actually started practicing piano again. I don't know why, but I just kind of felt like I should, and I started. So that's been interesting. This is the first time I've really sat down to learn music since the CPAP. Uh,
Okay.
and it's interesting to see how it's easier, I think.
Okay.
Um, but it's only been like 2 or 3 days, so we'll see.
Interesting.
So,
Do you feel like the walking, I mean, despite the fact that you've had to stop, but do you feel like the walking was helping with like whatever you're processing and,
yeah,
for clarity and stuff?
yeah, it was definitely helping. Um, and I think that the fact that I have not walked in the last 3 days, that's what's causing this. I don't know, like,
Fog.
yeah,
I mean, I lack for a better word. I know that there's other fogs going on, but like,
yeah,
but that mental fog.
yep, yep. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
See what, you
See
know.
what happens. Hopefully the weather clears up and the air clears up so we can get back to that. And
What is your
um,
air quality sitting at?
uh, it says 53, which doesn't sound right because it was a lot worse. It looked a lot worse than 53.
So just not to sound funny, but just around the time that it was happening for us here in New York and on Long Island, I had a meeting, and we had people coming from upstate coming down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like the Wednesday before they came down was like one of the worst days on Long Island. And we were sitting at like two and change.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The city was almost at like four or 500.
Right.
But then, the people from upstate were saying that they were like four or five, even almost touching six in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
But not by Buffalo. Buffalo was clear. It was more towards the eastern side. The
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo side was clear. Now the Buffalo side is starting to get affected. It's kind of like it got around the mountains or whatever it is.
Gotcha.
And the weird thing was is towards the evening it got better. So like it was bad during the day, but as it went into the
Mm-hmm.
evening, it was better. And then like when you woke up the next day, like it was better the next day, but it was still the numbers were higher during the day than were in the evening. And I
Right.
don't know why. I don't understand how that works. I don't know what that I don't know if it's a temperature thing.
It's probably a temperature and density thing, I would
I,
think.
that's
As
what
it
I'm
as
assuming.
the air
Yeah.
down here gets cooler, the hotter air rises, so the smoke would
Right.
rise, I would assume.
Yeah. I just, it sucks. It sucks that we were dealing with that. I feel bad for the people that are in the heart of it and they're
Oh
dealing with
yeah.
it to that extent. It
Right.
sucks that we're dealing with it down here, but to know that people are going through it, like the fact that people in California go through it almost
Mm,
every few years, like
yeah.
that's just crazy. I can only imagine.
I think it's every year now. I mean, the way it's
Yeah,
been the last several years, I think.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
what are you listening to?
So, I mean, the standards are still there. Cory Wong is still there. I've been listening to some Beethoven and some Rachmaninoff as well.
Okay,
So the Beethoven Third Symphony, the Eroica Symphony, and been getting into the second Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto.
oh, very nice.
So, what about you?
Is that? Do you feel that that's like? Did you start listening to it and then start practicing piano again, or did you practice
Piano
piano
came
and then start
first,
listening?
and then the classical stuff came out.
And it was kind of like, okay, I'm playing piano. I need to listen to classical stuff again, or
Yeah, and
whatever.
and some guys in the Rune forum posted some stuff that looked interesting, some Beethoven stuff, some stuff like that. So I was like, I'll check it out. You know, a
That's
group I'd
awesome.
never heard before. So, um, yeah, just checking that out.
That's very cool. For me, I haven't listened to much since we were live on Sunday night because it's just been that type of week. Like I kind of been getting in my car and just going
Yeah,
to work.
yeah.
There's been a couple of nice days that I drive home and then I end up putting on like Cory Wong or something because
Mm-hmm.
partially because I know that we were going to talk about it soon, but just because that was kind of like the last thing I played, so I just clicked on it. And it's good. It's good music. It's not like I was just kind of like, oh, okay, I'll just listen. It was that just kind of seemed to be the thing that was going on. But outside of that, not much. Just because I've just been kind of like going and coming and
Yeah,
like a zombie going to work.
gotcha.
So hopefully that will change because I took tomorrow off, so I can
Yeah,
enjoy
I'm
some.
off tomorrow. I'm off Monday. I'm off Tuesday. So,
That'll be nice.
yeah. That being said, this is like my least favorite weekend of the year because of the fireworks and the dogs. They don't.
Yeah, no, I can only imagine.
So, yeah.
Do they do a lot over there?
They have been recently, and there's a park that's very close to my house, and they do like 2 or 3 nights of fireworks. So I can see it from my house easily.
That's fun.
Yeah. Neighbors weren't bad last year, so we'll see what happens this year. Who
That's
knows?
good.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it won't be too bad.
Yeah. I got one dog who wants to watch them. The other one doesn't care. The other one is terrified. So it's like I've got all three varieties.
Was like, ooh, fireworks.
Yeah.
Uh, no, I really don't care. The other one's like,
Yeah. Just shivers in the corner. Yep.
fireworks. I'm
Hmm.
gonna go sit in the tub.
Yep. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Too funny. So
So we are here to talk about stuff and Cory Wong. So
stuff and Cory Wong.
stuff and Cory Wong. So if you're just joining us and you have missed the first 13 episodes, first off, where have you been? Um, and second, we were going through the book, The Music Lesson by Victor Wooten, um, and we finished that book last episode, episode 13. So I thought maybe we just kind of talk a little bit about that before we get into Cory, and then we'll play some music and go from there.
Nice.
So, sorry, I'm looking at something real quick while we do this because we're hitting very close. So we are very close to hitting 2,000 all-time downloads. We are at
That's awesome.
1,964. So probably not this episode, but the episode after would probably hit 2,000. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
So in about a year and a half, we've hit the 2,000 mark, which I think is awesome. So
That's very
thank you
cool.
all for those that
Yes.
have been tuning in, and we hope you stick around for a while and enjoy what we're doing. So,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
so the music lesson is a book that has affected us a lot, I think.
Yeah.
And we talked about it a little bit last week. How it changed the way I teach. Um, and I'll tell you this: I like noticing, like practicing last week, and I think because the book has been so fresh in my mind. Um, like practicing has always been a chore for me. The last 3 days, it wasn't a chore. It felt fun, which I
That's
thought was kind
awesome.
of cool. Um, it was frustrating in the sense that I guess my muscles are not in shape anymore.
Okay.
So like the first night, I made it 15 minutes, and that was it. Like I could not move my hands anymore. So, um, but yeah, I mean, I've been having more fun and trying to play more musically, which is weird because the stuff that I'm working on, like I don't really know yet. So it's hard to be musical as you're learning and trying
Okay.
to train your fingers to train the muscle memory. It's hard to be musical and do that at the same time because a lot of the way I practice, and that stuff is it's very loud and a lot of finger movement to get, and then as my fingers start to learn it, then I become more musical with it. Um, so it's hard to be musical with that, but it's getting there, which is nice to see. And you know, I don't know that I'm learning faster than I used to, but definitely getting better. So that's good.
Learning differently.
Yeah, it's differently. It's definitely different. Um, I think better, but yeah. So.
I mean, like you said, it's been a while. So,
Mhm.
but you're feeling good afterwards.
Yes.
So that's different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yep.
you're not looking back at it and going, "What a waste of a 15 minutes."
No, no, not at all.
So that's awesome though. I think
Yeah,
that's a big thing right there.
yeah.
Is
And I
to be
quickly went from 15 minutes to almost an hour, so in three
okay.
days. So that's good.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
How come so what made you decide to do new pieces versus working on stuff you know we're ready to kind of get back into the swing of things?
Um, so I did one of each. So I picked up a new piece and I picked up one that I started but never finished.
Okay.
Um, because part of it is I wanted a fresh start. I didn't want to have the struggle that I felt last time I tried to learn stuff.
Okay.
Um, and that night, and I started to I said last week, and I said several times that I wish I could be my own teacher. So I started to approach what I'm trying to learn from that angle. It's like, what do I need to improve on? Well, it's my left hand. So let's find something that's really going to work on the left hand.
Right.
Um, so I picked a Chopin Etude, which is probably the wrong thing to start with on day one, but you know, um, but it's one of those pieces that's it's challenging. It's not the most challenging Etude that challenges the left hand. So you know, I didn't set myself up for failure like I would normally do. So we'll
Okay.
see what
I
happens.
I could see that. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And
Yeah.
also, I mean, like, I think for me, like, if you were to go into something you already know, you may not practice,
Right.
or you may miss something because you're just like, well, I know this already. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, so I totally get why you went that
Yeah.
route. That's cool though.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I wish I don't have the space, and I know it sounds like an excuse, but it's tough. I don't have the
Mm-hmm.
space to really practice, and the times that I could practice, like I would be waking up my son,
Right.
So I need to figure out something. Um, I'm hoping that by next year I have some kind of room in the garage where it would be completely soundproofed and ready to go. Because I mean, even for my son, like I know that he wants to get into music too. So like if he wants to play drums, it'll be a place to put the drums.
Mm-hmm.
If he wants to do something, I want to have that space for both of us to use it for that reason.
Yep.
So right, that's the tough part. So I was thinking maybe getting back into just kind of relearning my theory,
Mm-hmm.
because as a singer, like you know theory, but you don't know theory.
Right.
I know it from playing saxophone and playing
Mhm.
instruments and liking the fact like being able to or wanting to compose music. So I was thinking taking the thought process behind the book and what we've learned and maybe applying it to kind of relearning the theory, like sitting there and breaking down compositions and just
Mhm.
relearning chords. Like I know my chords, but like being a little bit
Right.
more aware of them and stuff like that. And I
Mhm.
figured so by the time I do get to practice or I do get to do this or that, I have because I used to be pretty good at it.
Mhm.
And it was one of those things that when I was going through college, people are like, oh, so what are you going to school for? I'm a singer. Wow, you really know your theory. Yeah. Because I thought it was interesting. And I had 2 years of it in high school. And because of the 2 years in high school, I was able to test out of the first 3 semesters in the college. I
Mhm.
still took them from the first semester because it was easy A's, but you know, like, you
They
know,
wouldn't let me pass out of them, which I thought was strange. So I
really
remember the first day I walked in. It was Rich Iacona, who I love, and
great.
he goes, "All right, raise your hand if you play piano." And I was the only one to raise my hand. He goes, "All right, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Go." Because like it was all singers, and like they had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah,
So yeah, I had the first 2 weeks of the semester off for
that's
theory.
funny. But
So
that's how good he was.
hmm
Like I had
yeah,
him for composition one or two, whatever.
hmm
And like we sat like, and it was just two of us in the class. So it was actually really cool because it was such a small, it was just two. And we were doing all these little things. And then I had composed something just for fun a while before. And I told him about it. He's like, well, why didn't you bring it in? I'm like, well, because I didn't know. Like I didn't want to. And I handed it to him because I'm like, I can't play it. He goes, I'm like, I was able to write it, but I can't play it.
hmm
Like I'm not a piano player. And he
right.
goes, okay. So he tried playing it. He goes, I can't. He didn't say he couldn't play it, but he goes, it is a little bit difficult to play. It's one of those
hmm
things. It's kind of like Billy Joel playing, writing his classical music, but
Right.
he can't play it.
Yep.
Not that I'm saying I write as well as Billy Joel is, but not to change subject real quick off the book, but did you hear? I haven't listened to it yet, but Fallout Boy did a cover of "We Didn't Start the Fire," and they're doing it. And I think they went from 1989 to 2023 with the
Really?
news.
I
I
did
didn't hear
not
you
hear that.
say, yeah, I just saw it. Like I was on Twitter the other day, happened to scroll through, and someone shared it. I haven't had a chance to listen to it. I want to listen to it because apparently like they like I think Billy Joel's version goes from what? When did he write it?
He wrote it in 80. I want to say around 85, maybe.
So he wrote it up until like the 80s or so,
Yeah.
like the late 80s, like to whatever the day was that he was writing up to. Whereas
Yeah.
they said it was 1989 to
It might have been
2020.
89. I don't think it
Maybe
was that late though.
I don't know. Let me see what was it Fallout Boy or was it Blink 182? Hold on a second. I may be wrong with the group.
Let's see.
Fallout Boy, sorry.
We Didn't Start the Fire was 89.
So that's why they started it from 1989.
Yep.
Yeah. And like the tweet that I was reading was from Fallout Boy, and he states that I thought about this song a lot when I was younger. All these important people and events, some that disappeared into the sands of time, others that changed the world forever. So, and they say the second tweet is so much has happened in the span of the last 34 years. We felt like a little system update might be fun. Hope you like our take on it. And then it's out. Like you could pre-order it or whatever. And apparently, like people have like mixed feelings about it or
hmm
whatever. And I'm sitting here going like, what a cool idea though.
Yeah. I'm looking through the lyrics right now. Some really,
Yeah.
really interesting things.
Yeah. So
Um,
I have to listen to
YouTube
it.
killed MTV. That's an interesting one.
What'd you say?
YouTube killed MTV. Yeah. Well,
Video
I
killed
know
the
that
radio.
I ultimately agree with. I mean, because I think MTV killed itself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So I want to check it out.
yeah,
I
I'll
want when I
definitely
get
check it
a
out
chance.
too.
Yeah. So it didn't
Interesting.
mean to take away from the book, but
No,
I just
no,
thought it
it's
was
fine.
interesting. Because yeah. It's just because like if they're using the same melody.
It just going through the first verse,
You
it
could
looks
do
like
it,
it
right?
fits. Yeah.
I mean, I think they even mention like Elon Musk is mentioned in
Yep.
it. I think Trump is mentioned in it.
Yep, he is. Yep. Trump gets impeached
Like
twice.
all that stuff.
Yep.
It's
Tiger
crazy.
King? Yes, Tiger King.
But so okay, so this you can actually bring this back to the book. So this is something where I think in the book they talked about how interpretation of music is of the artist that's performing.
Hmm.
So a song can be played differently by different artists because it's interpreted differently and how the music flows through you. And I think that in a sense, like we talk about covers and we could totally use this on our cover episode where we can
Hmm.
play like the original and then play the new version of it just for fun. Um, it makes me think like, so they said, hey, listen, we love this song, but we're gonna take it and we're gonna interpret it for more of what we grew up with.
Right.
And they put their energy into it and their feelings into it and everything like that. And I think that's pretty cool. So, people have mixed feelings or whatever. I mean, I remember when they did the movie Psycho back in 1994 or 5 with Vince Vaughn. It was a shot for shot remake
Hmm.
of the original Psycho movie. And all they did was they added like certain sound effects like in the background just to kind of enhance it. But otherwise it was a shot for shot. Like if you watch both movies side to side or shot for shot. And they asked the daughter of Alfred Hitchcock, and they're like, "Well, what do you think about the fact that they literally just copied your father's movie?" And she said, "My father always believed that imitation was the highest form of flattery,
Hmm.
because you like something so much that I did and you wanted to mimic it or copy it. How cool is that?" And I
Yeah.
think that that kind of stands here is like, here you have a group of musicians that probably listened to Billy Joel all their life,
Yep.
probably influenced some of the stuff they were doing and said,
Hmm.
"Hey, why don't we have some fun and do this?"
Yep.
And I think that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I agree with you though that the book puts you in a different mindset.
Hmm.
But not just musically, I think even just
Oh yeah.
like on your everyday.
Absolutely.
How you approach things, how you see things. That's why I said multiple times, and we've agreed about this, that it's not just a book for musicians.
Hmm.
It really is a book for everybody, even though it focuses on music and it focuses on that study of music.
Yep.
Just the way it aligns with life and how he aligns music and life together throughout the book, like you could take so much out of it
Yeah,
and
for
put
sure.
it into your daily life.
Yep. Well, why don't we move on to some music? What do you think?
Yes, but before we do that, I'm going to show this in the camera, but we're going to say it out loud. After this episode 15 starts with the next book that he wrote called The Spirit of Music. I'm holding
Hmm.
the cover up for those who are watching on YouTube, but the book is called The Spirit of Music, which is the sequel, which is like, how would you explain it? It's even deeper than this one.
Yeah,
It
it's the
expands on what he
next
spoke about.
chapter. Yeah, it's the next chapter, and I'd say it's less um individual and more group.
Yes. I think that's a
You
great way to
know,
explain it. Yes, I think that's a great way to explain it.
and
So
it's one of the things that inspired this podcast. Honestly, like between that and the headphones, like it all kind of happened at the same time. So
that makes sense. Yeah. That's awesome.
yeah.
All right. Cory Wong.
So speaking of covers, let's just do a little bit of a Cory Wong cover, to wet people's whistle, and then we'll talk a little bit about Cory, who he is, and how I found him, and
Sweet.
go from there. So this is a tune that you'll probably recognize called "The Way It Is."
while the man in the silk suit hurries by as he catches the poor old lady's eyes. Just for fun, he says, get a job. That's just the way it is. Some things will never change.
So that is a tune written by Bruce Hornsby, covered by Cory Wong with Cody Fry on the vocals. It's a really really cool cover. You know, it kind of it encompasses the original, I think, really well, but it also does its own thing at the same time, which I think is really kind of
Very
cool.
pretty. It's a
Yeah,
very pretty cover.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now, so Corey Fry, where is he from?
Cody Fry, I don't know where he's from
Cody,
actually.
sorry, Cody Fry.
I don't know much about him. I just know that he plays a bunch. Corey seems to find these people that are incredibly talented, and he just tours with them. And you know, he's been with people like Cody Fry, Victor Wooten. He's been with Truesdale. He's been with Sierra Hull, Chris Thiele. Like the list goes on and on.
So it says that Cody Fry is an American singer, songwriter, composer, and producer based in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Illinois, and he has his latest release is called Waltz for Sweatpants. Now I'm interested. But you know what? You know what and this is what I think is very interesting. How old is Cory Wong?
38,
Okay,
37, something
so
like that.
Cody Fry is 32, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I love about just looking at his page, he has a very classic
Mm-hmm.
like stance.
Yes.
And even with Cory Wong, if you watch some of the videos of his live performances,
Yep.
they're very and they're very almost big bandish, where they have the stage set up, and
yes,
even though he may be in like white jeans and a t-shirt, and like it's just that whole concept of
yep.
having this classic look with a completely different feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a documentary that I'll put in the show notes that I watched last Friday, I think it was, about his tour, and that's one of the things he kept saying. He kept saying that, you know, I'm trying to be the kind of the instrumentalist of this day, you know, this
Right.
instrumental music of this day, you know, but trying to still connect it to the big band style, which I think he does really really well.
And
So
we and I think the misinterpretation of big band is not necessarily big band music, like
right.
not the music itself.
Mm-hmm.
Big band style meaning that you have a big band on stage with you.
Right.
Like you're not dealing with just a bass, a guitarist, a drummer, some backup singers. You're dealing with a whole horn section.
Mm-hmm.
Your
Yep.
your Tower of Power, your
Yeah.
Big Bad
Yeah.
Voodoo Daddy, your those
Yeah.
groups that have big sections with you.
Yep. So this album, this is live at Amsterdam, and that features the Metropole Orchestra. That is a full orchestra. It's 40
Yes.
something pieces or something like that. You know, full saxophone section, full trumpet section, you know, strings, everything. Um, his the band that he tours with has got a 6-piece horn section. You know, flugelhorns, trumpets, saxophone, bari sax, bass clarinet, flute, like a lot of multi instrumentalists in there. Um, so he actually went on tour with Victor Wooten back in February or March of this year, which is where I heard the name before, but it was really the first time I ever started and listened to him. And one of the first videos I saw, and I'll try and find it and stick it in the show notes as well. We played on Sunday Victor Wooten's version of Amazing Grace.
Okay. Yes.
And he did, like, the first time I don't know if it was the first time he saw it or his band member saw it, but they did a live reaction video to Victor Wooten playing that, which is really fun to watch, you know, because then next week they were on tour together. So, so Victor's played bass with him. His Cory Wong's actual bass player, his name is Sonny T, and he is or was the bass player for Prince, or one of Prince's bass players.
Oh, that's right.
So, and he's crazy good.
He is.
And
He is.
you know, Corey said, I don't know the names of his horn section, but he said that there are people in that horn section that he grew up listening to. You know, so he is a first generation, half Asian American. I believe his father owns a Chinese restaurant. So kind of cool. What I love about his stuff is, go ahead.
No. He's just crazy talented though for his
Yeah.
age too.
Yeah, he
He's one
sure
of those
is.
that you're like, is he really 38?
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Yep. And what I love about his shows, and like, so this is off of the Power Station Tour Live, East Coast. There is just so much energy that comes out of him. So this is how he opens up the show. This is called Flyers Direct. And then from there, he goes right into this next song called Ketosis, which goes like this. It's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of, I mean, it just gets you moving. It puts you in a good mood. I think it's good to listen to with the windows open. You know, just kind of ride around and have fun. So
It's so, yeah, there's just a lot of energy to it. So
yeah,
the his grandparents started a restaurant called Wong's
okay,
Cafe, I believe.
okay,
Which is why he has an album out called Wong's Cafe. And his uncles took it over, but it's 50 years in the business. Like, it
yeah,
opened up in 1952, and it says he's from Twin Cities.
yeah.
So
So he's from Minnesota. Yeah,
so there's a Rochester, Minnesota, I'm assuming.
yes, there is.
Okay, I was not aware because I don't
He
know
was born in
Minnesota.
Poughkeepsee, though.
Right, he was born that I knew.
Yeah.
So the restaurant's in Rochester.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely in the family. Because doesn't he have a song on the live album from Amsterdam that talks about, I'm gonna leave the music business and go
Yes.
work at the
Yeah, it's
restaurant?
a Bruce Hornsby tune. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's that's on my playlist. It's coming up.
yeah, yeah. No, that's right.
Um, so and this is, I think it's really cool. Just going through like his like, he was fascinated by the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Primus.
I could see that.
Yeah, you know,
Feel the energy behind his music. That's
absolutely.
totally them. Yeah,
Yep, yep. Started
yeah.
piano at the age of 9. So yeah, and
But
he's played with some crazy people. So I mentioned Wolfpack. Wolfpack is an interesting group. If you do a little bit of research on them, they're I don't know if it's whether they call it a shtick or not, but their big thing is they don't rehearse. Um, they I can't remember the guy's name who's the head of Wolfpack, but he's like, we're not going to rehearse. Like, we're just going to go on stage and whatever happens happens. You know, and it's like, you know, it's some of their stuff is really kind of crazy, and you have to have some really good musicians. He was telling a story about, oh, what was the drummer's name? I can't remember the drummer's name, but there was a story where they basically called him up on stage. He had no idea what song they were going to play, no
right.
idea what it was going to sound like. So they just started playing, and the drummer just kind of came in and they just went, like, and he played a full set with them. It's like, you know, but there was no planning, no nothing. Live at Madison Square Garden. I mean,
That's great.
so But you have to be really, really talented for, that sort of stuff and be really, really comfortable with who you're playing with.
Of course, yeah,
So,
totally.
he likes to do a lot of fun stuff. So these next two tunes are what he calls the tiny instrument version. So the idea behind it was to take all of the instruments that normally play in his band and find the smallest versions of those instruments and try to produce the biggest sound possible with these tiny little instruments. So like the flute player is actually playing a piccolo instead. The keyboard player is playing a melodica instead. They actually called Fender and said, "Give us your smallest bass that you ever made," and he plays this little tiny little bass and his little travel guitar. So this first song is called Bluebird. So the only instrument that he let play that's an actual like normal size instrument is Sierra Hull's mandolin. He just said it was small enough.
Makes sense though. That's
and
funny.
and the other one that he did, and I'll see. I know I sent you the video at one point, so I'll try and find that link again as well. There's actually video of them doing this, so you can see all the tiny instruments. And this one is one I've been listening to like on repeat today. This is called Pebbles, and this is still a tiny instrument version. But the bass player does switch over to normal bass in this one.
1, 2, 3.
And he actually wrote that with Bela Fleck. So
You could tell.
yeah,
You could totally tell that
yep,
that's awesome.
absolutely you can. Yep.
So funny.
Yeah. And like I was mentioning before, he tends to find these instrumentalists or musicians rather that are just incredibly talented and brings them on tour with him. And one of the groups he found that I was introduced to through him is a group called Truesdale, which we've played a little bit of. In fact, if you were on our live stream episode that we did the covers, we did a piece by Truesdale where they covered a Beach Boys tune. So this next song is called Crisis, and it features Truesdale on the vocals.
I'm in a crisis, on the move, always out of time. I don't know how to feel, where to go, what am I to do? I'm in a crisis, on the move,
Truesdale, their vocals are just so good. You know,
Yeah.
when they're singing in harmony, like their harmonies are so tight. But even when they sing unison, it really truly sounds like one voice. They do such
They
a good
have
job with it.
they have a great, yeah, they're very talented. So out of curiosity, I brought up the song Crisis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just curious. You know, he wrote the song, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's off the album Power Station. Um, I know we don't talk genres
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think that we need to, but I just think this is very interesting. It's under the genre Thai indie.
Really?
Yeah, so I clicked on that and I'm like, well, what is that? Like, because I know there's indie everywhere, and
Mm-hmm.
it's basically it blends Western pop music with traditional Thai elements. So now I want to know more.
Well, I can tell you this. In that documentary, he does say that if he has it his way, he would eat Thai food 6 nights a week.
So I'm curious, but I'm curious if he considers himself that. Do you feel because he's half Chinese,
Asian. I don't know if it's Chinese or not. I don't know.
but he's half Oriental Asian,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to say, and half
Yep.
American. Do you feel that from listening to him that he has an influence of um Eastern music?
I would say no.
Okay,
Um, that being said, I don't know Eastern music all that well.
fair.
So, I mean, they're the Eastern side of stuff. They focus a lot on the pentatonic scale. This is not really pentatonic.
True.
Um, you know, rhythmically, I don't think it fits in the style, but who knows?
It's just interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's half Chinese, half American.
Okay.
He said in a tweet, he said my grandparents took a boat to the US in the 1940s. I'm curious what this tweet says because it gives like a history. Okay, so he says, and I don't know if this was in the documentary because maybe it was. His tweet, this is from 2020, March 27th, 2020. I'm half Chinese. My grandparents took a boat to the US in the 1940s. Musically, my grandma had a bunch of Chinese cassette tapes that had a lot of pentatonic stuff, but it also lays out so easy on the guitar. Coincidence or serendipity?
Hmm.
So maybe he is influenced in some weird
Maybe.
way. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's just I love when as you learn more about the artists, how they're influenced.
Yeah.
And because your past, your experiences play a huge factor on
Mm-hmm.
how you interpret songs or how you write or how you play and all that stuff.
Yep.
And you know, if he does have um Chinese culture or Eastern culture in his blood and or
Mm-hmm.
what he's learned, you know, depending upon what he's learned as he's growing up and how much they were in the culture, there's got to be influence into it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm Italian and I grew up in that culture, so a lot of the stuff I listened to when I was growing up was Italian based music, which influences what
Dominic
I
the
listen
Italian
to.
Christmas donkey.
Yeah, like the Italian Christmas song. You're right. Let's just stereotype that whole thing. Yeah. No, I'm joking, but no, but like out of all seriousness, yeah, like that
Yeah.
type of stuff is what
Mm-hmm.
you grow and what I kind of I go to when I'm going to listen to music.
Right.
You know, sometimes you just get that, and like you know, and then you have those. And I hate to use the word stereotypical, but then you have like the Rat Pack and people listen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like that
Oh
whole
yeah.
thing. But you know, it's always interesting to see where people have come from and how their music. And it's like Victor Wooten, like he talks about in his book. He was never into bluegrass, but he
Mm-hmm.
plays a lot of bluegrass now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of Bella Fleck and the Flecktones,
Yep.
because of being that group. So
Yep.
it's interesting.
And it's interesting going back to the book. You know that's like the first thing that Michael had him play.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's
Right.
you know, was that done on purpose? Who knows? With Michael, you
Right.
never
Step
know.
out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. So we mentioned this song a little bit earlier. This is another Bruce Hornsby tune that Cory Wong did. This is called "Today I'm Going to Get Myself a Real Job."
Today I'm gonna get myself a real job. It's time to be a standard working man. Oh, this music thing's been fun, but I think that I am done. Today I'm gonna get myself a real job. I'm contemplating getting on the payroll. No stress about what other people think. No ticket sales, no critics, or Spotify statistics. Today I'm gonna get myself a real job. Now my
And it goes on. It's a great song. It's a great rendition of it. He he talks about going back to work at Wong's, and
Yeah.
it's really cool. So, and that was again with the Metropole Orchestra. That was off of the Live in Amsterdam album. So I had two more left on my list, and then we'll close it out and do our normal closing routine. But these are again two songs that I've just been obsessed with, especially this next one. This one is called "You Got to Be You." And his stuff reminds me. This is a weird comparison, but the book that you got me, the Salt Life Buddha.
Saltwater Buddha.
Saltwater Buddha. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yep. No.
A lot. He says that he's trying to be like the instrumental, like musician of our age, and the Saltwater Buddha. The way that book is arranged, it's very small, short little chapters, very bite-sized pieces.
Yes.
And so much of his stuff is done. Like his songs are 3, 4, 5 minute long. Like when you typically have like jazz musicians like this, like you'll have like 20-minute tracks, and it's like it doesn't like appeal to our society the way our society is. It's very short. And I was actually having a meeting about this and how we don't have the attention span to, grasp these longer things a lot. And
True.
he does a really good job of just. I mean, that's a 3-minute song. I mean, and it's just.
And it feels fuller. It feels
Mm-hmm.
like not the 3-minute songs you hear on the radio. It feels like a longer, fuller song.
Yeah.
And I know I told you I was going to say that the group that he plays with, I guess on a regular basis, is very talented, very tight, but you totally hear their individualism in their playing, which is very cool to have when you have such a tight knit group and that plays so well together.
Yep.
But that the one thing I liked about that book, which is the fact that it's short, because it's like a journal, and this is almost like his journal.
Yeah.
Like each album feels like a journal of his music.
Yep.
And it was one other thing we talked about how with Victor Wooten, where we feel like the way he puts his albums together, where he's got like this upbeat music, and then he gets down to the not the slower music, but stuff that's kind of like held back a little bit more, and then he gets back, like he has this like play with the songs and how I feel like Cory Wong does the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when you listen to the album, is it
The
the
Metropole
one in
Orchestra?
Amsterdam? Yeah, you feel that like the beginning, it like draws you in, and then you get to the middle of it, and like typically when you get to the middle of the album, you want to turn it off,
Right.
and then and then but this just the way he does it, like you want to listen to the whole album.
Yep.
You want to hear, and it's such a well recorded live.
It sure
album.
is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And the other one that I've been listening to a lot is it's called Starting Line, and this has Sierra Hull and Robbie Wolfson on the vocals.
Nobody knows my name. Did I melt into these walls I've made? I did everything I thought was right. Got my stapler, got my shirt and tie. Set me up to zone out, pushing paper, slamming the stapler, punching the clock until 5. Holding out to get up to the stage. Now I'm turning the page, feel the rush in the day, stepping into the light. Been kicking my feet on the starting line. Now I'm chasing a feeling, showing up to the stage, let the crowd decide. Been working the game in a brand new light. Now I'm breaking the ceiling, done chasing the dream from the starting line.
Just so much fun, and I think one of the things that I really love about his stuff is he's got so much live stuff out, and you know me and live music, I prefer that.
I have to tell you, I did listen to one of his studio albums because he does have one or two. I do
Got
like
several
his
of them.
live better.
Yeah.
I really do. And you know me, I like the studio stuff just because of the
Yep.
way I listen to my music.
Yep.
I have to say I really do enjoy his live stuff better.
Yeah.
I think it's just
It's an
because
experience.
right, exactly. And we don't know if they're recording all together or they're recording separately. Whereas like because of how well they play together, I think you get that energy in the live albums.
Well, you can. There are. So he does a lot with social media. We've talked about artists who really embrace social media.
Yeah.
He's got a ton of stuff on YouTube, and you can see like full recording sessions, and it is the full band.
Okay,
that's up
cool.
there,
That's
so.
awesome. I mean, I it feels like it.
Mhm.
So but just the live, there's just something about his live albums that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Yeah, so that's Cory Wong. I mean, the three that I would recommend are the 2 Power Station live albums. There's one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, and the live at Amsterdam is excellent as well. That's with the Metropole Orchestra. Cory Wong and the Wong Notes is a good album as well. You really can't go wrong, I don't think.
Yeah.
With his stuff.
I agree. And after this episode comes out, after you've listened to this episode, the Sunday after, July 9th, we are going live on Twitch like we always do, but we're going to focus on Cory Wong. So you're going to be able to hear all these songs in their entirety. So join us.
Absolutely.
Oh, does that bring us to housekeeping or like
It does.
Going through stuff? Like, was that
Yeah.
my segue? Like,
That's your segue.
oh, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know what I'm doing. Do you want me to ramble through it?
Sure. I talked a lot this episode, so why don't you?
So, this episode is episode 14. So next week on the 15th episode after this will be the first chapter of the Spirit of Music. So we thank you for listening and joining us on this journey, and we hope you continue listening with us, talking about the book with us. So if you have not picked up the book, please do so. It's totally worth the read. And if you didn't read the first one, that does not mean you can't read the second one. You could totally jump into the second one without the first one. Kyle does go live every Friday night at 8:00, and this is where he's been introducing us to new to us artists. So people that are out there that we haven't heard yet, and like Cory Wong, where he found it through listening through other music. So join Kyle on Friday nights at 8:00, and hear who he's going to share. Again, we go live every Sunday at 7:30, live on Twitch. after this episode comes out, the July 9th, we will be playing Cory Wong. It'll be focusing on his music. So please join us. July 16th, we are doing another cover night. So we're calling it part 2. Our form link is in the link tree, so that'll be in the notes. Fill out a cover song that you love to listen to. Let us know. Come join us that evening, like we did on June 11th. We're gonna play the original and then play the cover, and we kind of vote to see which one we like better. So we got about 6 or 7 already up there. We'd like to get a few more, and
I
as
think there's
we're
more than that.
or yeah, oh maybe there. Oh, that is true, because there are more than that.
There are
Yes, you're
multiple
absolutely right.
responses in some of those.
Yep.
So.
Yep. We do take them live. So if something comes up live that you see, we'll find it. And if we can do it, we'll make it happen. So come join us on that as well. Every Monday, Kyle does upload our video version of these podcasts. So if you're listening to us and you love listening to us and you want to see how funny we look in a couple weeks, this episode will actually be live on YouTube. Not live on YouTube, but it'll be on YouTube in video format. So check that out. Fridays, Kyle has puts up some of our bloopers, our outtakes, our shorts. So check those out on Fridays on YouTube. But big thing, click on the link. We do have a Discord, we have an Instagram, we have a Twitter. Follow us, join us in Discord, have the conversation with us, continue the conversation, share artists with us. Please do that. We'd love to talk about that stuff. So join us in Discord. We'd love to build that community up a little bit more. And I think that's it. I don't think we got our like closing that we always do, but that's the nitty gritty of it.
Yep.
It's awesome. Thank you for listening to this episode.
Yep. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed Cory Wong. Please check him out. He is on tour as well, so he's all over the place. He's going to be in the United States and in Europe, so find him.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next week, and hopefully we'll see you on Sunday. Have a good one, everyone.
You too. Have a good one.
See ya.